Good evening, everybody, and good morning. So, myself, I'm Ravi. I welcome you all to the webinar on Kubernetes about especially the certifications like CKA, CKAD, and CKS. Hope you all can hear me and see my screen. So, without any delay, let's get started. Thanks all for joining across the world. So, let me introduce myself first. So, myself, I'm Ravi. I'm a certified Docker associate. I'm a certified Kubernetes administrator. I completed a few of my certifications listed here. I've been into IT industry from more than 12 years now. I worked in various disciplines of IT industry. I worked in middleware stream, I worked in design engineering, I worked as a solution architect. Currently I'm working as a senior consultant who is leading a team of containers. So that's about me team. Training is my passion. Besides being an IT consultant, training is my passion. A few of my clients listed here. I do teach for IBM, Optum, JPMC, Deloitte, Oracle, HP, Cisco, Bank of New York, Subex, almost all e-learning platforms, right? I'm a specialist team for practical oriented courses. So people approach me for practical oriented courses and workshops. So that's about me simply. Let me quickly set the agenda actually, what we are going to understand within this 1 hour. We are going to understand what is Kubernetes because being the buzzword in the market, everybody is eager to understand what is Kubernetes. Many people say it's an alternative to Docker. A few of you may not know what is Docker, why Kubernetes is getting this much craze nowadays, right? All these we are going to discuss, and why you are seeing Kubernetes certification as unique certification available in market, and why organizations are looking for certified people. In fact, who can understand and learn Kubernetes, what are all the prerequisites to learn, and how to prepare for the next steps. So all these things I'm going to address, and at the end I would definitely take your questions and will answer all your queries. So without any delay, let's get started, team. Sorry. First of all, I would like to introduce the evolution of IT industry, how IT industry changed over the years. Earlier days we used to use waterfall model for planning and all as part of your SDLC and all. You must have heard this hundreds of times, waterfall model. Then we move to agile. I'm sure many of you are in agile process, those who are working in development, QA, architecture teams, prod support teams, right? They are all in agile process. Nowadays we've been hearing DevOps the most. So what if we extend agile to infrastructure as well, not only for development? What if we extend agile to infrastructure as well, agile system administration, right? So that is where DevOps has come into the picture. So slowly we changed the models from year to year. And from application architecture standpoint also, earlier we used to use monolithic architectures where your application components were binded together, tightly coupled components. Later entire architectures we started to use where we separated presentation layer, business layer, data layer, everything. Three tier architectures or entire architectures you must have heard about. And then currently in today's world, microservices architecture is the one leading the market, right? So whatever the applications that organizations are starting nowadays, they are planning for microservice based architecture only. And almost existing architectures like traditional applications, whatever organizations do have, right, they're also planning to convert, to transition towards microservice based architecture. So with DevOps, right, microservices architectures are the key. And then hosting of an application is very very important nowadays, right? See, earlier you used to use physical servers like big fat servers. See, in your learning curve also, right, earlier you used to use desktops, laptops directly by installing some Windows or something for your practice and all. Later point of time, slowly when we wanted to practice some Linux and all, we slowly started installing something called VMware on our machines so that we could run Windows parallelly and Linux also with it. The same resources can be shared across multiple operating systems. where virtualization era started in IT industry. The same way, we started hosting applications on virtual machines where we can get, better scalability, better availability, and better resource utilization, right? So slowly we moved from physical infrastructure, physical servers to virtualization. That was completely a revolution in IT industry. I'm sure still you guys are working with virtualization. And nowadays, right? So to go with DevOps culture, to have microservices based architecture in place, right? We need a suitable platform because everybody is thinking of CI/CD nowadays, continuous integration, continuous delivery or deployment. Everybody is thinking about GitOps model. If I place my application file or infrastructure as a code in GitHub or some version control system, my containers or my application should run in production environment by crossing IAT, staging, testing, everything, right? So that is where we need better platform to run our applications. And also, one of the major things nowadays we are looking for, zero downtime deployments. When you would like to understand zero downtime deployment, how the build pipeline should be planned, how we need to go with the architecture. This is where, team, we need the best platform to host our applications, especially microservices, because nowadays we are planning on microservices. There, containers have come into the picture, right? Containers are the best platform, I can say, for microservices. I've been running containers from 2016 team. Early days of containerization, I started working on it. Today, I'm managing a team that runs around 42,000 of containers in production environment. I would say directly. So that's the power of containerization. Easy to maintain, large scale applications also you can deploy quickly, easily, zero downtime, zero downtime deployments are possible. How to roll back, switch back to green version from blue version. These are all the things we are looking for nowadays, right? So containerization, container orchestration are the solutions. This is what we are going to focus about today. Containerization and orchestration, especially orchestration. And also, application infrastructure also changed day by day. Earlier we used to have all our servers in our office. Slowly we moved to data centers. We started putting them in a separate place with proper power backup, security, availability, blah blah blah. So hosted data centers also started. Nowadays everybody is looking towards cloud. Almost all organizations started using cloud based hosting, where on demand delivery is one of the advantages and pay as you use is one of the advantages, right? So this is the evolution of IT industry. Earlier we used many technologies, many ways to host the application. Today, with DevOps culture, by using microservices based architecture, the platform that we are going to choose, or many people chose already, is containerization or containers. So this is where I'm focusing today, team. This is the platform, the best platform to run your microservices, right? Why we need containerization? Why don't we work with earlier application types or virtual machines where we installed, our OS separately, we installed our Tomcat or WebSphere or WebLogic. We use it to copy paste the commands. We use it to replace the old war files, EAR files for application deployments, where we say, hey client, application doesn't work for 1 hour, there is some downtime for your application, we are upgrading your application for next hotfix. All these things we used to say earlier, but nowadays, needless to say, because we have containers, how special it is, what are all the things it does do for us, right? Mainly, one of the burning problems in IT industry. You must have heard about this problem n number of times. I just would like to remind once again. Sorry for that. So, application is working fine in development environment and it is not working in production environment. So, developers simply say, "Hey, Ravi, application is working fine in my laptop. Application is working fine in my dev environment. Not sure why it is not working in production. It's all up to you. Maybe you haven't deployed properly. Maybe you missed a few steps here and there." So this is one of the burning issues. We get on call. Finally, we come to some conclusion. We do some config changes here and there. Finally, it starts working. So what if we wanted to eliminate this nonsense completely? What if we want to find a solution for this actually, right? This is where containerization and orchestration come into the picture. This is the key line, team, why people started using containers, right? I'm sure whenever we talk about containers, this is what you get in your mind. This is what you get in your mind. Container is, a carrier way, a carrier, so that you can load all your goods and you can ship from one place to another place. So how software containers come into the picture? So it is generic container, physical container, what you see outside for transportation of goods. But how different it is from our software containers? This is one of the important points I would like to bring up. So generally, team, when you would like to move your application from one environment to another environment, imagine this is your development environment where developer has a Windows host where he or she installed some Eclipse, on top of it some test server, and finally their code like war file or a jar file or an ER file, whatever the format it is, right? So when they test the application, it works absolutely fine here. When we switch to production, imagine this is the production environment. Obviously, we never use Windows. Rarely you see Windows in production environments. We go for flavors of Linux. So imagine I do have a Linux platform here. You never install Eclipse and all in production server. We always go for some enterprise Java, and you do go for some distributed server environment rather than test server. You never host the application on one server in production environment. You always have hundreds of servers for clustering service, mean to say for load balancing and high availability. And finally, you borrow the same code and deploy here. So obviously, here there are many chances of missing some configuration from dev to prod, right? Because there we tested on Windows, we tested on Eclipse by using test server configuration. Here, the game is completely different. Here it may be fast pitch where you learned the bowling, but when you really play, it may be a spin pitch. So we need to be prepared for that, right? So here and there may be some configuration missing. Developer might have loaded some jar file to Eclipse, which is not part of this environment. So this is one of the reasons, primary reasons, we always saw failures, right? So how to address this problem? How to come out of this problem, right? So this is where, team, you might have observed, right? Many organizations started using QA environments where they started replicating same production environment here. Imagine I have CentOS in my production, and I do have around Java 1.8 version in my production. I do have Tomcat version 8 in my production, and I want to deploy this war file. So instead of going to production environment, let us start with QA environment. Let us start with QA environment and test the application here end to end before going to production. And if application works fine here, yes, then only developer should say, or then only development team should say, hey, application is working fine. It's not like testing the application in their local environment or their development environment and saying out like application is working absolutely fine. No, it is unacceptable, right? This is where, team, we started using QA environments, and we mandatorily asked for these things, right? We mandated it like QA team should certify the QA environment. They should certify the QA environment and they should release a go for production environment. This is where, team, many of the issues started resolving here itself in QA environments. Once the QA environment tests the application, yes, we started promoting it to production environments. This is what we started slowly. But even though you take this case, right, you may have hundreds of production environments, hundreds of production servers. When you want to replicate this in production environment, you need to install operating system first, you need to install Java first, you need to install Tomcat, then application. Tomorrow, if you would like to redeploy the next version or same version, whatever, again you need to remove the existing war file across all 100 servers, and then again you need to replace the new application. So this is cumbersome process where many manual efforts are involved, right? So why should I do all these things piece by piece, right? Earlier, team, to tell you in a simpler way, in IT teams, right, in your organizations, the IT teams, they set up your laptop or desktop, They never come to your desk, they never sit in front of your desk, they never install OS first, then MS Office, then client utilities, then your ABC software. They prepare some golden image or ghost image with them. Whenever a new requirement comes into the picture, suppose somebody joined today, they just run that image on that machine, so that OS, MS Office, all the utilities, whatever mandatory things, security things, everything will be set up in a single go. If you want me to tell in a generic example, imagine you are shifting your home from one place to another place, from one location to another location. You never prefer to transfer all your items one by one. You always take a big truck and you package everything carefully. You load everything to the truck and you finally transport the truck from this place to that place. Right here, the concept what I am trying to explain, rather than installing everything piece by piece, rather than sending every change piece by piece from one environment to another environment, why don't we think, as it is working absolutely fine in one environment, let's package it. Let's package it and directly run on production server. Let's package it and directly run on production server. As it worked absolutely fine in QA environment, it works absolutely fine in production environment also. You don't need to install everything piece by piece. You don't need to worry about missing parts, all these things. As it worked fine in QA environment, it absolutely works fine in production. So this is how containerization started in IT industry. This is where containerization evolved. Rather than installing every software component or every code, right, piece by piece, why don't you involve everything in a single pack? And why don't you ship that pack to each and every environment? Can it be development machine or QA environment or production, IAT, UAT, disaster recovery, client machine, your practice machine, what not? Once you prepare a package, it should work everywhere the same. Nowadays we are in ready-made food world, right? Quickly cook in 2 minutes, this is what we are hearing. So they are putting everything in that packet. You just need to open that packet, put it on flame for 1 minute or 2 minutes, everything is ready. You don't need to add extra salt from your home, you don't need to add extra pepper from your home. Whatever is needed to cook that food, they give everything in that packet itself. So just observe the same logic here also. You don't need to install any piece extra. You don't need to install any software extra. Let's have everything in a single place. Just plug and play. Just plug and play. This is the concept of containerization. This is how containerization is evolved in IT industry. There are many containerization technologies team. You might have heard about LXC. Initial days it is started actually. Linux containers we used to call it as. The later LXD, Rocket, Containerd, Cryo, and the one which outclasses all these things is Docker. Docker is the best containerization technology I've seen so far. So Docker made containerization easy. The containers concept was not new. It was there from long time back, but Docker made it easy. In a command, you can run a container. In a command, you can bring up your application. If you think of VM perspective or a general machine perspective, if you start a machine, OS should initialize, services should initialize, then particular Tomcat or WebSphere or WebLogic or JBoss, something should initialize, then your application comes up. It used to take 4 minutes, 5 minutes like that. But with containerization, within blink of an eye, I can show you your application up and running. That is how containerization is evolved. To prove this, let me take a minute to show you something. I'm on a machine. I'm on a machine. I'm just running a single command by using Docker. Docker run. Some arguments I'm giving. I'm giving some name. Some name I'm giving. So I executed the command. Just in a second, something I got. So there are a few things running. There are a few things running on my machine. This is the one which I started actually. Yeah. So it is up and running from last 4 seconds because it was created 5 seconds ago. So with this, you can understand within 1 second, I see something is up and running. What is really up and running? 49153 is the port number. I can access it. 49153 by using the machine IP address. 49153. y3 slash my application deployed in it. There you go. Something is loading for you. So you can see team, it is an application. Simply saying it's a microservice. You clearly saw within 1 second, I brought this application up and running and I am able to access it. You can think of this thing, right? Okay, to run this application in 1 second, what Ravi has prepared inside, what that blah 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 pet clinic contains, right? So, team, as I showed you here, right? This is my image. I prepared this and I ran it in my production environment. It took 1 second to come up and running. If you run the same one on your machine, it also takes 1 second for you to come up and running. You don't need to install OS, you don't need to install Java, you don't need to install Tomcat, you don't need to deploy this WAR file separately because I packed everything together in this single image. In this single image, that is what I was explaining here. Once the application is working fine in QA environment, package it, run it in production environment. It comes just like that because these are all mini components. This is minimal operating system. All software have less size when compared to general software. You may think CentOS contains 7 GB or 6 GB. CentOS is available in 200 MB. There is a Linux operating system available in 5.6 MB. Like this, for containers, we can use lightweight operating systems and we can bring applications up and running within time, within no time. So this is where containerization got evolved. And take any organization, if you listen a word called containers, you must have listened about Docker, you must have heard about Docker outclassed all these containerization tools and technologies. Almost every organization nowadays using Docker only. With Docker you can bring up your applications in seconds. Lot of downtime is removed here, team. Earlier we used to see 2 hours 3 hours downtimes for application deployments. With containers, within seconds you can bring up your applications, right? That's where Docker has evolved. Okay, why Ravi is telling about all these things? We in fact thought of it Kubernetes. This is the foundation I laid, team, before jumping into Kubernetes. Now the real picture. Here if you observe, I just logged into one machine, I just logged into one host and I ran one application, which is Pet Clinic application. What if I want to run 10 instances for high availability? What if I want to run 50 instances for load balancing, more capacity? What if I want to scale more services because more customers are accessing my application today? How to do all these things? How to handle all these things? That is why, team, I'll just tell you one analogy here. Imagine earlier there was only one employee in a team called testing team or something, some XYZ team, right? Then that person himself takes care of leave management, work schedules, decision making, documentation, delivery, everything. But imagine slowly they added more people in that particular team. When there are more people in the team, obviously there comes a manager. There comes a manager. You know well what manager does do. I need not to explain. Maybe there are a few managers here, with all due respect. I'm a manager, of course. So what do we do exactly, right? Manager takes care of assigning work. Suppose I have a critical activity to perform within minutes. Who is my top star? So obviously I assign that work to him. Hey, you take care of this because it is an urgent. You can do it in minutes rather than others. Then there is a new project. Who is free today? Let's assign him this new project. He can do some POC and he can work on it. Leave management. If I want all of a sudden a leave, I need to go to my boss. Boss, I need a leave. So what works you are handling currently? Is there anything urgent to deliver? If so, please assign to somebody else. Leave management. Your leave management can be taken care by him. Work management. If you have more tickets in your queue, if you don't have bandwidth, obviously your tickets will be assigned to other people. Your promotions, adding more members if there is more work coming towards your team, and how you are doing the work, monitoring. Are you going okay or not? Are you satisfied with all your work or not? One on ones, one of our favorite things, right? So these are all the things usually a manager handles. Now, why I explained you all these things, why I brought in manager analogy here. Because team, if you want to run your containers on one single machine, yeah, that's okay. You can simply go with containerization technology like Docker and all. Yeah, you can do that. What if I want to run 10,000 containers? What if I want to run 10,000 containers on 1,000 machines? Your choice, right? In organizations, in production environments, you may run hundreds, thousands of containers on hundreds of machines. How to manage all these things? How to manage all the containers you are running across the platforms, across the environments? So this is where container orchestration comes into the picture. See, if you are a music composer, if you are just handling one instrument, yeah, you can happily play it whatever the way you want. But when there are n number of instruments in place, somebody should play guitar, somebody should play keyboard, somebody should take care of drums, somebody should take care of flute, right? These guys should go in order. These guys should play as a team, right? So this is where orchestra, music composer comes into the picture. He organizes all these things. The same way, when you are running your containers in numbers, hundreds or thousands on n number of machines, there needs to be some management placed. There needs to be some manager in place, right? This is where container orchestration tools come into the picture. We do have something called Docker Swarm from Docker, but basically, let me explain you first what an orchestrator can do. Then I'll tell you what are all the tools available. Suppose you wanted to run 10 containers. I have hundreds of machines. On which machines these containers should run? Which machines are free? Which machines have bandwidth? Which machines have good CPU, RAM? All this decision making can be taken care by container orchestrator. And to maintain your desired state, team, this is one of the crucial points that container orchestration handles. Let me tell you, I asked for 100 containers to run. All of a sudden, couple of machines went down because of some reason, because of some network issue or something happened. Two machines went down, two nodes went down. There are 10 containers running on each node. Then obviously you lost 20 containers. So out of 100, you are maintaining 80 only. That's a bad thing to hear. So capacity may not be sufficient. Your application may go slow. So this is why you need to have always desired state. So if I want to run 100 containers at any point of time, 100 must be running. Though one machine goes down, doesn't matter for me. Two machines go down, doesn't matter for me. My orchestrator makes that possible. It always makes sure, okay, Ravi asked for 100 containers. Two machines are down. Okay, how many containers are running there? 20 containers. Let's move them to available nodes. Let's move them to available machines, right? So maintenance of your desired state. Whatever you asked for at any point of time, yes, they must be running. And how to share the load, user request especially. There are hundreds of requests coming to your application. You are running your containers. So which container should accept which request? How to load balance your request across multiple containers? So load balancing is one of the key areas we need to observe always. And scalability. All of a sudden, all of a sudden, traffic got increased on my application. So I can increase 10 more containers. Where to run again those 10 more containers? That is another point. Auto healing. One container is down because of some internal issue, some internal server issue, some memory issue, something happened. That should be automatically restarted. That should be automatically restarted, or new container should be created automatically. Auto healing, auto scaling. This is one of the finest options container orchestration tools give us. When there is more traffic on your application, automatically increase the number of containers. No, there is no traffic towards the application. Let's decrease the number of containers so that a lot of RAM will be saved, CPU utilization will be saved on your servers. Because nowadays we are going for clouds. When we go for clouds, right, they charge your RAM, they charge per your RAM, per your CPU. So you need to reduce the usage when there is no hit on your application. So automatically, depending on your application traffic, increase the number of containers, and if no need, reduce number of containers. Auto scaling, auto healing, all these are possible with container orchestration. And as I told you before, I don't want any downtime while upgrading my application. If something goes wrong, I would like to go back to previous version, that too without downtime. Yes, that is possible with containerization and orchestration. And also, how exactly my application container talks with DB container. How exactly my app communicates with a cluster of DBs. Suppose I may have 10 database containers. How this communication happens. How one machine can communicate with another machine. All this communication should be happening with orchestration. And also storage management. Suppose I'm running a container with database, how data will be managed, what if container goes down, how to save my data. I need to plan all these things. That's where storage management comes into the picture. Also, essential concept of every technology or any technology nowadays, security. Who should access, who should scale number of containers, who should create a deployment, who should remove the things, who can edit the things. All these things come under security or back and all, all these things, right? Nowadays we've been hearing DevSecOps, where they included security. So security is playing one of the key roles in IT industry nowadays, very well, I need not to explain. So this can be taken care by container orchestration. So not only running containers, you need to take care of these many things. And today's IT industry is looking for all these things. With that said, team, these are all the container orchestration tools available in market. Docker itself has a container orchestration tool called Docker Swarm, but it has very limited features. It's paid one. I worked on Docker Swarm in 2016-17 area, team. You need to pay license costs and all to Docker organization. Nowadays it is from Mirantis. Actually, we use it to talk to Docker when we use it to upgrade our versions and all, right? Today's Docker version is 20 plus 20 dot something is there. When I started working on Docker, it was like 1.4 or something. So Docker Swarm is one of the orchestration tools Docker does have, but it has limited features. That's where, right, people are jumping towards Kubernetes. Kubernetes is an open source container orchestration tool where you can happily manage your containers. So Kubernetes is a management layer, but to create containers you need Docker. To create containers you need CRI-O or Rocket, something. Some containerization tool must be there to create your containers, but to manage them you can use Kubernetes. Kubernetes is not a containerization tool. Many people confuse here, team. Many people compare Docker with Kubernetes. Never do that, please, because Docker has containerization capabilities. Kubernetes has only orchestration capability. See, if you are a technical guy, you can work on ticket, whatever is coming to your queue, or tomorrow you may manage a team, but there is a project manager. He can just manage your work. He cannot work on the tickets. So that's the difference between Docker and Kubernetes. Docker can do containerization and orchestration both, but Kubernetes is purely orchestration technology. You run the containers by using Docker, then it can manage those containers. So Kubernetes is container orchestration tool, the best in market nowadays, right? So far, whatever the container orchestration tool you see here, team, VMware, Tanzu, OpenShift, Rancher, Nomad, Mesos, and if you go for cloud, Amazon has EKS, Elastic Kubernetes Service, Azure AKS, Google has something called GKE, right? These are from cloud standpoint, these three below what I kept, but these are generic container orchestration tools. Wherever you go, they need some containerization tool like Docker or Podman or CRI-O or Containerd, and on top of them you will have container orchestration tools like Kubernetes or OpenShift, Tanzu or Swarm, whatever. Kubernetes is open source, team. Google started it initially in 2000s, long back, not now actually, long back. So almost in 2014, Google handed it over to CNCF, Cloud Native Computing Foundation. They are managing Kubernetes nowadays. They are giving Kubernetes. It's completely open source. You can have your applications run on Kubernetes seamlessly, but they don't provide any support if you run into issues and all. That is where, right, cloud providers are giving their own Kubernetes for support. And OpenShift, earlier it was from Red Hat, nowadays from IBM. So they are giving their own Kubernetes as form of OpenShift. See, at the end of the day, whether you go for OpenShift or EKS or AKS, GKE, whatever, the underlying technology is Kubernetes only. That's why it has become a market leader, the best container orchestrator ever I worked with, right? So that is why people are running after Kubernetes nowadays, and why we need containers and why people are preferring containers, because faster delivery. Earlier, we used to give the application to the end user or new features to the application, new features to the application once in a month or twice in a month, hardly, by saying some downtime and all. Nowadays, we are in CI/CD world. Every 1 minute, if there is a change, I want to update my application. In that case, yes, containers are the best platform, as I told you before, right? So containers are the future team. Everybody is moving towards containers. You might have heard this already. And almost there are many researches going on how people are using Kubernetes. The utilization is drastically increased over the past few years. You can see in market, see in 2014-15, nobody knows what is Kubernetes. From last 2 years, it's one of the buzzwords in market, one of the hottest skills in market, right? Because microservices adoption increased rapidly in industry. So people started using microservices like anything. They started splitting their traditional architectures with microservices, because if you go for traditional architectures, you have to run your application on a single technology. But if you go with microservice, you can run one feature on one technology, another feature on another technology, as per your choice. If you consider a banking application, a big banking application, earlier you used to run it on a single technology like WebSphere or WebLogic. But nowadays, login I can run on Spring Boot, funds transfer I can run on a Python application, and credit card module, my favorite, can run on a Node.js component, and you can run another Java, you can run something on Tomcat, whatever, your choice. So that's where, right, microservices adoption rapidly increased in market, so as containers. So as containers. So that's why everybody is looking towards container. See this. This is official slide of CNCF. So last survey they did in 2020. You can see 91% of the respondents reported they are using Kubernetes, 83% of them in production, according to their survey. So it is drastically increased team, drastically increased when compared to last year or previous year. This is official survey of CNCF. And what's the way forward actually? What organizations are looking? I gathered this information from a few blogs and some important organizations websites only team. So Gartner predicts that by 22, more than 75% of global organizations will be running containerized application in production. You know how Gartner surveys are important for us. Maybe your organizations are also following Gartner surveys and all for future technologies or future standards, right? So which is significant increase, which is of 30% from 2019. The future of IT is going to be about greater interactivity, seamless integrated experience, and predictive analysis and automation. 2020 Stack Overflow Developer Survey. Linux, of course, most loved platform for anybody. Even I agree that. I second that. But container technologies like Docker and Kubernetes rank as the second and third most loved platforms to run the applications. With this, you can understand, team, after Linux, Docker and Kubernetes are in place, according to Stack Overflow survey. We know Stack Overflow is mini Google for IT industry. Everybody of you agree for that. Even I do check many things in Stack Overflow, right? They only ranked it. They only ranked Docker and Kubernetes next to Linux. So that's how people are using containerization and orchestration. Customers are looking for fully managed autonomous services across their hybrid cloud environments. Nowadays, there is one more thing coming to the picture all of a sudden: hybrid cloud. I want to run my application for one client on Google. I want to run for another client on Amazon. I would like to run local Kubernetes for another client. Like this, I may run different Kubernetes clusters on different clouds or on premise. But how to manage all these things together? Do I need to go to every time different cloud platforms to manage? Not required. There are technologies, team. There are technologies slowly coming up in market, but they are expensive. I should agree for that. They are expensive, but from single place, you can manage multiple clouds, hybrid cloud environments. That is where you see Tanzu, you see Anthos. There are many technologies coming up for this also. There are Kubernetes operators. Kubernetes evolved to next level, which is operators. Suppose you gave a cluster to your developer to use to run its applications, but all of a sudden your developer has come back to you and said, hey Ravi, by mistake I removed some component. By mistake, I removed some configuration in the cluster. Can you restore it? This was the earlier day scenario team. You go sit back on the server, restore the backup, all these things. But with Kubernetes operators, no need. If he accidentally removes something, it must be restored automatically. It must be restored automatically. You can set up some benchmark on the cluster like these are mandatory components. If deployment is removed and recreated, that's okay, but not mandatory components. Not mandatory components. They must be there even though accidentally deleted. This is another level of high availability, not only for application, for infrastructure also you are getting high availability, right? This is where Kubernetes is evolving team. That is why people are liking Kubernetes. So the way forward, the future, any application, anywhere, on any infrastructure, from the edge or bare metal or cloud, whatever, if they want to run in consistent manner, if they want to behave as same, whether it is in Ravi's system, whether it is your machine, your friend's machine, your client machine in Amazon or Google or Azure or on-prem, yes, the solution is Kubernetes. That's the future Kubernetes can provide, right? So this is where team everybody is running towards Kubernetes. If you see LinkedIn nowadays, right? You must, I see daily one or two posts minimum. I am done with my certification on Kubernetes. Why people are looking for Kubernetes certifications? Why there is that much craze for Kubernetes certification? Because one single line I would say, I kept the image here intentionally. It's a hands-on exam. It's not it's not like multiple choice questions. It's completely 100% practical oriented exam. They give you scenarios to solve, they give you servers to work on. You need to manually spend time on the servers, you need to type in all the solutions, and you need to resolve their queries. Then they evaluate all your questions, they see your answers, they see your solutions, and then they make you certified. That's where Kubernetes certification got its own craze. That is why it has set a benchmark in IT industry. See, I'm interviewing many people for my containerization platform. So we are also looking for certified people only, because if you are certified in Kubernetes, right, automatically you practice everything in Kubernetes. That's the meaning. Until unless you practice each and every topic like A to Z in Kubernetes, you never be certified in Kubernetes. That's how they prepared the exam. I should agree it's one of the greatest experiences or critical experiences in my career when I wrote my Kubernetes exam, right? So there are three different exams team. First one is certified Kubernetes administrator. Second one is certified Kubernetes application developer. Third one, they introduced it recently from last November only team, that's security specialist. Security specialist is slowly starting in market. You can count on, you know, fingers how many certified and all. Very few. I'm about to write that certification next month. I'm also preparing because it is one of the critical syllabus I have ever seen. I'm working on it hard actually to, complete my certification. If you go for administrator and application developer, what are all these two especially, right? Team, certified Kubernetes administrator, CKA, it is end-to-end Kubernetes, starting from installation till troubleshooting, like installing, running your applications, configuring your services, you know, internal configurations, everything end to end will be there in certified Kubernetes administrator exam. If you want to understand each and every concept of Kubernetes, yeah, you can opt for CKA. What next? Certified Kubernetes application developer. Many people think it is Kubernetes development. Do not think like that, team. The second certification, application developer certification, is not about Kubernetes development. It is Kubernetes for developer. If you are an administrator, you take care of installation, you take care of configuration, you take care of deployment, you take care of maintenance, troubleshooting, everything. But if you are a developer, if you are a developer, you never install Kubernetes platform, because administrators will install, you just run your application on the platform. So if you think from developer perspective, how much extent, up to how much extent I'll use my Kubernetes? Do I use 100% of Kubernetes, or do I need to know 60%, 70% of Kubernetes? Do I need to design my application to run on Kubernetes? Yes, that is certified Kubernetes application developer. So I would say if you learn 100% of Kubernetes, that is administrator. and 70% or so, no installation knowledge required, no troubleshooting much required, because you just want to develop your application and you want to run on Kubernetes. So it's like how much you use Kubernetes comes into the picture here in application developer certification. If you complete this one, you don't need to go for second one, because application developer certification is subset of CKA. If you are done with CKA, you don't need to go for CKAD, because this is the smaller one, this is the bigger fish. Okay. And also the third one, security specialist, how to harden your Kubernetes infrastructure, how to allow accesses, authentications, authorizations, certificates, communication security, uh, you know enabling, disabling, auditing, all these things come into the picture. Third party audits, security reports, all these things come into the picture when you go for third certification, security specialist. But they kept a strict prerequisite. If you are a CKA, if you are done with your CKA certification, certified Kubernetes administrator, then only you can go for CKS. You cannot directly opt for CKS. You should be completing your CKA before going to CKS. If you are done with CKAD, no, gates are closed for you to go for CKS. You can't go and attend CKS. So first prerequisite to attend CKS is CKA. So that's why I always explain to my people, my candidates, there are numerous certifications done by my students, many of the corporate people. Whoever want to complete their Kubernetes certification, I suggest them to directly go for CKA. Aim at CKA. You don't need CKAD, so that you can in future you can go and clear CKS as well. So this is about all three different certifications: CKA, CKAD, and CKS. All three are completely practical based exams. You will be given with servers. You need to type in all the solutions. It's an online based exam. You can sit at your home. Somebody will log in and they will be monitoring your screen. Your front cam will be open. They'll be watching you, right? They'll ask your proofs whether you are the right candidate or not. They'll ask you to show your room. Is there anybody in the room? You should not have your earphones. You should not have any other papers on your desk. Everything they'll check before you start your exam. It's 2 hours exam nowadays, team. Earlier it was 3 hours exam when I wrote. They changed it to 2 hours. They give you around 17 questions to resolve. There will be separate weightages for each and every question. Like first question may carry 2 marks, second question may carry 10 marks, like that. This is how it goes. This is how it goes. These are all the certifications we do have. And I intentionally kept this picture just to let you know something. Earlier courses, even whatever I trained, and many of the courses I learned, they were all listening courses. Yeah, you log into the portal, you log into Zoom, or you log into WebEx or something, and you just listen whatever trainer says. You may note something, or you may use recordings in future, and you one fine day you will sit for some time, and then you start listening again. Then you start practicing. Whenever you make some mistake, again go listen the recording, and after 1 week, yeah, forget everything. This is what our practice, right? But to win the matches, to win the matches, listening to the commentary is not enough, right? So how he played the ball, how he faced the ball, no, you have to do net practice. So until unless you practice, you can't win the game. So this is where practice is very very important for Kubernetes training program. This is where I suggest everybody, I encourage everybody to start working on Kubernetes things. To start working on Kubernetes things, and we planned a program in such a way you will be practicing along with the trainer. Whatever the installation process I do, you will be doing along with me in the class. This is the corporate approach actually, team. You never see this kind of approach in retail industry, like online industry. Anywhere you go, you will be one of 50 or 60 people sitting in a batch. You will raise your hand, somebody will read your question and they answer. But when you really face the problem, nobody will be there. Again, you need to raise a support ticket. They come online and then they will see your question. They will answer after 2 days. No, we wanted to come out of that. We wanted to come out of that approach. So that is where we introduced a new way of learning, where completely practical oriented training. Like the 30 hours of training program we planned, 5 weekend program it is, 3 hours on Saturday, 3 hours on Sunday. I say 3 hours But you know what? My students, whoever I teach and all, it goes 3.5 hours, 3 hours, 40 minutes like that with the discussions and interactions because they are involved. You will be involved in the program. You will be practicing along with the trainer. So whatever the subject you learn, you will learn practically. So after 30 hours of training program, if you are confident, you can go and crack your exam. Many people cracked their exams after my training. Of course, if you need some confidence, yeah, you may practice once again. But end-to-end concepts, whatever we teach in classes, yes, you will be practicing everything in the class itself. We just request people to create one free Google Cloud account where they can grab 4 GB machines or 8 GB machines, whatever they want, and quickly they can practice along with the trainer. Whenever people complete their certifications and all, they express their happiness. They just tag me over LinkedIn and they say, right, we completed our program thanks to you, all these things. Many CKA exams, proudly I can say my students got 96%, 97% also in the exams, right? Because we planned this program as a practical oriented program, not listening program. I know how listening would be. There are courses team available online. You can pay 500, 600 also, you can get a course. But why people come to me? Because they want hands on. Real industry, corporate industry, right? If you go for any corporate training, why corporate trainings are special rather than regular retail trainings? Because they will have hands on over there. They will learn, they will practice, they will remember everything there itself. So that is how we brought this corporate culture to retail industry as well. This is where we planned our CKA program. So one of our DevOps University associates will help you on all these things. Yep, team, if there is someone, you may take over. And
Sure.
I
Thank
can
you very
answer
much,
some
Ravi.
questions also, team.
Yep. Am I audible, Ravi?
Yeah, but very low.
Just give me a second. Is it better now?
1 second. Yeah,
All right. So thank you very much, Ravi, for a wonderful session. And thanks for all the participants. Before we start question answer, I would like to know our CKA workshop is starting from 6th of March. And those people are new to DevOps and wanted to go for DevOps professional program. And that workshop is also coming up 28th of February. And Ravi will be teaching both the programs. Interestingly, all the programs that we have designed, they are blended program. So you will be having hands-on experience. For CKA, we will be using Google Cloud for all the practical thing. And for our DevOps professional program, we will be using AWS Cloud for all the practical and exercises. So all the programs, whatever you are attending with DevOps University, you can go and visit our website, devopsuniversity.org, and you can find it out. In case of any query, you can write it us to training@devopsuniversity.org. Although once the session will be ending, we will be giving you link to access the recordings, and you will get the link by tomorrow morning. And I am requesting Ravi to open the floor, and the people those are in the session, please raise your hand, and Ravi will unmute you so you can ask any questions you have, and we will love to answer all those questions. You can see our ratings also on SwitchUp, Course Report, Google, and on different platforms. It's very high. It's just because of our commitment and our students' commitment. We strongly believe we need your collaboration, your support to get you certified in CKA exam. If you follow our guidance, you will definitely able to crack the exam. With this, I am stopping, and people can raise your hand, and one by one, we'll unmute, and you can ask question directly to Ravi, and I'll be able to answer question related to DevOps University.
thanks, Sachin.
Yeah, thanks, Ravi. I am unmuting first Shoaib. Shoaib,
Sure.
you can ask your question.
Yes, sir. Hello, Ravi.
Hey.
Thank you for giving. Am I audible to you?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. So my question is that I have done DevOps from
Okay.
Naresh IT Hyderabad.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So as I am a fresher now, I am not getting much opportunities in DevOps.
Right.
Yeah, so I was thinking that if I can prepare a Docker and Kubernetes instead of DevOps,
Mhm.
will it be better, or the DevOps course which I have done, I should go with that only?
So it's part and parcel, right? See, if you learn DevOps, Docker and Kubernetes are there involved. They must be involved, right? Some sort of knowledge you might have uh, gotten as part of DevOps course, but
Yeah,
here this
yeah,
program is all about towards certification. This is enterprise level. If you go and say as a fresher to the companies like I'm a certified Kubernetes administrator and all, to be frank, we are not here to discourage you, but as a matter of fact, being a fresher, if you are expecting I want a Kubernetes administrator job, yes, they may consider you, they may not consider you, because this is an advantage in your resume. If you say I'm a fresher but still I know Kubernetes end to end, they will happily take you. Your interview questions will be reduced and they'll directly place you in a Kubernetes job if they have. If they have but they might not consider you as a complete guy for you know a position called Kubernetes administrator being a fresher. So this is the fact. Actually, we don't say lies actually for enrolling and all, but this is the fact I want to tell you.
so I was just telling you that when I was doing DevOps now, so the faculty which he is teaching to us, he told that there are so many openings in DevOps. But when after completing the course, he said that while get into the market, I have found that there are very less opportunities for DevOps fresher. And now I
I
am
know,
thinking to
I
do
know,
Kubernetes.
I know all these things. Yeah. So do one thing. You may drop an email to DevOps University folks. They will help you with all this knowledge actually. So how
Oh,
the things are in market and what is best for you. So you
I
may.
know, I know Docker. मतलब I know the Docker tool,
Uh-huh.
but instead, मतलब, as you know, I have a tight hand on English. So what I'm trying to say here is, I know Docker very well,
Mm-hmm.
but Docker alone cannot give me job opportunities, right?
Right.
Yeah. For that, if I want to go into Docker field now, so I need to understand that orchestration and all this.
Uh,
Without
Yeah,
orchestration, there is no use of containerization.
containerization. Yeah,
Yes,
uh,
right.
yeah, you might have heard about it. I suggest you to drop an email to our DevOps University folks. They'll better explain you all this future related idea. Okay.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Ravi,
Sure.
basically, let me take this question. So,
Yep.
Shoaib, you can send us an email at training@developmentstreet.org, and we have corporate tie-ups also. So we will see your resume, and if it fits one of our requirement, we will help you out. And the second thing is, whatever you have learned from anywhere, you have to keep practicing those concepts, so whenever you get the opportunity you are able to crack the interviews. So it's not like that you attended the training and you become the master. We are always saying whenever any new candidate enrolled to us, or people came to us for get the guidance and get the some career advice also. So we
Yeah.
are keep recommending them, practice is the key. If you get the opportunity to appear for interview, so you should not lose that opportunity. So keep practicing and send us your resume. We will help you out to see where we can fit you in.
Okay, okay, okay. Thank you so much. I will send you my resume,
Yeah, thank you.
updated resume with all the tools I have covered in DevOps.
Sure,
Okay,
sure.
thank you so much. Yeah,
Yeah, thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Others guys, please raise your hand so we can unmute you. Okay, Akshay, I have unmuted you.
Hi Ravi and team. First of all, thanks for this session. It covers a really lot of basics and high level understandings.
Yeah.
I am into IT industry from last 6 years, and especially into test and automation field. So basically, my question is related to how I'm interested to move my uh, profile into DevOps and cloud related technology. I know it's a bit late, but still I have to move into these technologies. So the question is mainly related to those people like who want to transition their career from maybe some other profile to DevOps and cloud related technology, and instead of directly jumping into Kubernetes exams and all.
Right. So in that case, I would suggest this is the right program for you.
Ravi, could you please open on browser also, so
Yeah.
Akshay can take a look. So Akshay, basically, the people those are willing to transform their career as a DevOps engineer. So for them, we are highly recommending to go for certified DevOps professional workshop. So this is also 6 weeks workshop where you will be trained all the basic concepts to all the advanced one. You can go through our website and you can find it out. We are covering Git, Jenkins, Maven, Docker, Kubernetes, Ansible, Splunk, Neguez, Grafana, Prometheus, Docker Swarm, Kubernetes, Jenkins pipeline as a code, as well as Terraform.
Terraform.
And
Yeah.
recently we added Terraform and the microservices also, how the microservices being tested, how they're being deployed, how they are basically running in the Kubernetes environment. So it's end to end. And again, whenever anyone comes to us, we are asking for the commitment from your side also. You will
That's true.
never learn after paying fees to us. We need your support also. And Ravi will be the trainer for the professional program also. So if you're not doing the practice, no one can help you out. And if someone is making the commitment, you will get the jobs. I'm sorry to say, all these are the false commitment, and we are not going to help you out in that case. We need your commitment, and we are there to help you out at all possible ways, whether it's the solving your problems, helping you to understand how things are working, how to troubleshoot, how to implement in a practical way. And the best part with us, our programs are not slide based programs. Our programs are hands on programs, so you have to do your hands dirty during the class along with the trainer. I
Totally
hope.
agrees. Totally agree. So that this will be a live session and with the hands-on practice, right?
Exactly, yes. It's
Okay.
hands on session. There are certain topics where you have to follow the trainer. The reason is wherever all the commands and everything is involved, so you will be working directly with the trainer. And there are certain areas where you have to do some UI configuration, you have to configure some jobs that on some tools UI. So for that we are recommending to focus on what trainer is teaching, and after that you can practice it. But most of the tools that requires command based, like whether it's Docker, whether it's Kubernetes or Git, Jenkins, anything, you will be working along with the trainer.
Okay, agree. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Akshay. uh, Next is Rupa Shri.
Hey, Rupa. We couldn't hear anything.
Yeah, we are not able to hear you. Okay, I am unmuting Suraj.
Yeah, the question is, hello, can you hear me?
No, your voice is breaking, Suraj. Suraj, you may type. Sachin, you may give him chat option so that he can type his question.
Okay.
So you're able to hear me now?
Yeah, I
Rupa.
can hear. Yep, Rupa, we
Yeah.
can hear.
Yes, thank you, Ravi, for a wonderful session. So it was really helpful. And my question is, you said Kubernetes is open source and they do not provide few support, right? So
Right.
what are the advantage of using the Amazon or Google Kubernetes platform? So what are the support that they give?
End-to-end support, right? Suppose you run into some issue, your node is restarting automatically because of a container. You wanted to know what is the bad process that is being, that is using your RAM more, CPU more, these kind of things. You want to go for root cause analysis. You can just drop an email to Amazon support or Google Cloud support. Within 1 hour, you will get reply with all the solution. Even though you go for OpenShift is also a wrapper on top of Kubernetes. You get support from IBM. If you run into any issues during upgrades and all, because we use complex infrastructures, right? It's not that much easy to set up an enterprise environment as our laptop setup or desktop setup. So that case, when you use third-party components, when you want to upgrade your OS and all on the machines, how to manage the things, that kind of support you will get from EKS or AKS or GKE or OpenShift, any of these things. They are next level to Kubernetes, right? Of course, they use base version of Kubernetes, but they have their own things on the top of it.
Okay, so it is like as a developer, I can just deploy my applications using Docker, and all the management and scaling things, those Kubernetes management, the company will be taking care, like Amazon or Google.
Right, absolutely. It's managed service, right? You just put
Okay.
everything, whatever you wanted in a file, and that file gives you everything, whatever you wanted from cluster standpoint or from Kubernetes standpoint. It's like GitOps model, right? Infrastructure as a code also you've been hearing nowadays. It's kind of that model.
Okay, Ravi, thank you.
Yeah, sure. You're welcome.
Anyone else? Okay, Mushtaq, I am unmuting you. Yeah, you can ask your question.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Mushtaq. Thank you, Ravi, for giving me the overview on CK and CKS. I recently have completed a certification on DevOps Foundation from DevOps Institute, not DevOps University, where they have, they have given me the idea what a DevOps is, what DevOps culture is, and how it is emerging into the current scenario. But we didn't have any idea on the tools which we use, like Git, Maven, or Jenkins, or Docker. I mean, we didn't get any introduction of the tools in as part of the certification or anything in that program. So currently, we are planning to go for a DevOps professional training. Actually, DevOps professional certification. So, am I good to go with that, or should I have to attend the DevOps Foundation again from DevOps University so that I'll get an idea on the tools which are being used and everything like that?
Sachin, you may go ahead for this.
Yeah, sure. So Mushtaq, you already have some idea about DevOps, and
Yeah.
you can directly go for the DevOps professional one. So the very
Okay.
first day, we are basically covering all the theoretical concept, all the basic core idea behind DevOps. How the journey is begin, and what is the need of ours, what are different components there, what are different phases are there. So all these things we are covering at the day one, and after that the real game begins. So basically, I hope during your training you came to know DevOps is culture, and it promotes basically automating the stuff, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
in this particular professional training, you will be understanding the concept along with how basically we can automate the stuff, what all tools are available in the market. So for various DevOps stages, which tool can we fit, and comparison between different tools also. And in this training, we'll be using industry's most widely open source tools. So you will be getting the entire holistic idea about hands-on experience about all the tools. So you can definitely begin with DevOps professional workshop.
Okay, thank you. That clears my question. And one more question I have: do we have hands-on on Terraform also in the DevOps professional
Yes.
certification course?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, I
So
didn't
you
go
can,
through that.
yeah, you can open this URL in your browser, devopsministry.org, and you can, if Ravi, scroll down, please scroll down to table of content,
Okay.
scroll more, scroll more, yeah, a little more. Yeah, so here you can see we'll be giving you self-paced course for Linux fundamental. So you will be getting the more idea about what Linux is and how it works. Then we'll be starting with the introduction to DevOps, cloud overview, AWS, Git, build tool Maven, Jenkins, Docker, Docker Swarm, Kubernetes, Ansible, Splunk, Negoes, and CI/CD pipeline with Jenkins as a code, Terraform, and the microservices. So you will be
Okay.
getting, extensive hands-on experience during this. work.
And for all this hands-on experience, we'll be using a AWS cloud
Correct.
provider, right?
Right,
Okay.
right. Yes, yeah.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
one thing we also say here, team, do not expect 100% of each and every technology as part of DevOps professional, because we need to cover each and every tool. So hardly you will see 3 to 5 hours maximum per tool. So
Right.
please do not expect, if we mention Kubernetes, it is not certification standard Kubernetes. So it gives
Right.
you complete picture of why this technology is and what are all the critical things that you need to learn as part of that. So as part of DevOps professional program, this is what we cover, and almost each and every tool has its own, certification level content with us. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So basically,
And okay. Yeah, please.
you can continue, Mushtaq.
Yeah, I'm actually curious to know, will I be getting any recordings of the session if
Yes, yes, yes.
I
Yeah.
attend? And
So
also the extended, extended sessions on the tools which we use. Like, for example, if we have Kubernetes, so I've got some other doubts in Kubernetes. Can I, can I get the uh, uh, video
okay.
recordings of Kubernetes, how will work, or not a live session, but we can also get the recordings, right? So
Okay.
can I get that? Yeah.
I can answer this question particularly. So every day, once session will be over, you will be getting the access to the recordings within next couple of days. The reason is recording takes, so within couple of hours basically. So recording takes time to get processed. You will be getting access to the recording for the lifetime. You will be getting access to study material for the lifetime. For after every topic, you will be having some quiz also, and you will be having access to our exclusive Git repo, from where basically you can go and explore all the commands that is being used in the session. And after that, you will be also getting the exam access. So before appearing the exam, you can apply or attempt multiple time mock exams, so to test your knowledge. And during that learning phase, if you come across any question, you can ask that question in the session. And after the training also, if you have questions, you can write it to us. You can reach out to our LinkedIn forum also. So we will be helping you out to solve your queries.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Mushtaq. Another question, guys, before we conclude the session? Feel free to ask. We have few more minutes to go. We are already 20 minutes past to the planned session. All good? Thank you very much for joining the session, and we will be sending the recording of this session to all of you on your registered email ID. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot for joining. Have a good day.
Guys,
Goodbye.
have a good day, good night.